over. The saddles could cost upwards of $10,000. Spurs alone can run as high as $3,500.
Couldn't have a more gorgeous morning to show off all the colors you're going to see in the parade this year.
And here we have our first winner of the day, General Motors, United Auto Workers, the Wizard. And this is a spectacular float, 70 feet tall, towering over South Orange Grove Boulevard.
7-story building.
And it is the winner of the Grand Marshal Award.
Yeah, for creative design. Creative it is. Sponsored by General Motors and the United Auto Workers.
Now, if you'll watch, there's a dove that appears, and I think it's his right hand, and there's a Saturn in the other hand, appropriately, since they're kind of announcing their new car, Saturn. Yes.
Now, let's get an idea of how these things work. Here's this huge thing as high as a 7-story building. You have to take it through the streets. And there we have the driver, Keith Ween, the animators, Bob Kiefer and Jeff Anderson. Bob, you want to tell us something about how this thing works?
Bob, did you pick up that audio cue?
We're in the middle of a show sequence, and what we have here is a computer that's automatically taking control of the animation aspect. We've got
okay, audio on my cue.
Hydraulic valves that are controlling the animation.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go.
Yeah, they're communicating with each other in there. That was not our audio department. It was their audio department.
No, people don't realize how many people are inside each one of these floats to make this animation happen. It is very, very technical, much of it computerized.
The driver, Keith Ween, and all the drivers of these floats can't see where they're going except by the rose-colored line. Is that right, Keith? Do you hear me all right?
Jim, I'm sorry, we're having a real tough time hearing you. When our audio stops, maybe you can repeat the question, and I'll try to answer you.
Well, we were just looking at the rose-colored line with you, that's all. That's the only way you know where you're going.
This thing, now, we're actually starting to feel it. They said you would not only see this come down the street and hear it, you would literally feel it, because I think it uses about, what, 40,000 watts. There are 80 loud speakers on board, and it actually makes the ground shake as it comes up the street.
You think they have to carry their own power? They're totally self-propelled and self-animated.
The right box down in the corner of your screen, you're watching the animators there that are making everything happen.
That thing is really huge. Just one.
I don't know, people
watching the monitor is one thing. You turn around and see it in person. It's immense.
It's right outside our window here.
And here are the medieval times horsemen. 13 riders on Andalusian horses, representing 11th century characters. They're actually performers from a restaurant down in Buena Park. The original is in Mallorca, Spain. Following these riders, we're going to have another float and as a matter of fact, another winner.
Those riders have to follow behind the Wizard, too. I hope their horses are nice and calm.
That's right.
This is the Dr. Pepper float. It's called To the Hunt, keeping up the equestrian theme here, and it won the President's Award.
Okay, well, let's see what we can spot. The ducks swim, the raccoons pop out from tree stunts.
Now, this is an interesting twist on the hunt, because the foxes are going to the hunt. Actually, they're riding the horses.
Well, you're very into that sort of thing. Have you done fox hunting yet?
No, I haven't, but it would be fun to be an equestrian out here on a horse today. Now look at the dogs bark on this float. A lot of animation. The ducks are down, swimming along. There are even little raccoons that we'll see one maybe pop out.
The President's Award for Best Floral Design went to this float. There's the fox, all living material on every square inch of every float.
Dr. Pepper has been in the Rose Parade for over 30 years.
Rabbits.
Little rabbits down there.
Okay. The California Institute of Technology coming up next. We got 9 beavers guiding Caltech's time traveler to the year 1687, where they will find Isaac Newton resting under a tree. This is a real Rube Goldberg deal here.
It sure is. The beaver is the mascot of Caltech.
And one thing after another happens.
Until it finally gets back down here to the very, very end. And eventually the apple falls out of the tree.
With a little bit of luck.
With a little bit of luck.
Yes.
For a bop on the head.
Isaac Newton, done in flowers.
It's interesting. Caltech has a small student body, only 1,800 students, and yet over the years, 21 Nobel Prize winners have been awarded to Caltech faculty and alumni.
And it's located right here in Pasadena, not to be confused with Cal Poly, which will come later. The Swirling Sands Mounted Drill Team under Marshal Marion Hall. They're mostly housewives who like to ride, like you.
Yeah, I found this interesting. A lot of housewives who enjoy riding and performing, and they formed in 1982, and they perform all over California as kind of a specialty rodeo act. This is their 3rd appearance in the Rose Parade.
1 million people in the streets of Pasadena.
Yes, I think the numbers I heard this morning, 1 million people watching in person. 300 million will watch this parade in 35 different countries.
Around the world. There they head. A brief hold up here. There he is, Joan.
All right, our Grand Marshal for today, Bob Newhart, keeping with the fun and games theme. They've chosen a comedian, Bob Newhart, as their Grand Marshal.
Hello?
Bob Newhart has been entertaining Americans for over 30 years. One of television's favorite comedians, this year's Grand Marshal was chosen to represent comedy in accordance with this year's theme, Fun and Games.
I don't think I'm being singled out so much. I think it's a recognition of the role comedy plays, and I just represent all the people that make people laugh, I guess. I mean, that's the way I view it. It's a very important part of our life, comedy, and it gets us over some really tough times.
And there he is, and riding with him today is wife Jenny, his 2 daughters, Jennifer and Courtney, and his 2 sons, Robert and Timothy.
Quite an honor for Bob, joining presidents and chief justices and people like that who have been Grand Marshals of the parade. Not to forget Shirley Temple twice. Well, coming up is the thrill of a lifetime for one of our crew, for cameraman Frank Melchiori. He's been with us for 17 years, but today he's going to take a shot. There is Frank Melchiori, and he's going to have the opportunity to take a shot of his son Michael, 17 years old, marching. There he is, marching with the Norwalk, Connecticut High School Marching Band. You made it, Frank.
Yeah. Thank you.
You better take a good shot, Frank.
Don't blow it.
I'll give it a shot.
Are you nervous today?
A little bit, a little different.
Make you think back when he was a little baby and stuff like that? Concentration of a true professional. Norwalk High School Marching Band, among their alumni, Calvin Murphy. Remember the NBA star? In fact, he was the drum major of the band, as well as a basketball star when he was at Norwalk. Michael Melchior, I can't talk to him. He's playing the saxophone. Shouldn't. Michael, do you hear me? Can you take a moment out from the sax? No. Another dedicated professional. Good band.
Yeah, terrific band. 203 members. And they've gone through all kinds of things to raise the funds in order to get here today. Music marathons and sponsor mile programs.
And being from Connecticut, they are, of course, Yankees. Is a big music school, by the way. 40% of the 1,500 students take part in some kind of music program. The Portland, Oregon Rose Festival. That's the City of Roses. Very logical that they would be here again this year.
That's Sparkles the Clown, inviting children of all ages to enjoy this entry.
That's Erin Neal, the 1990 Portland Rose Festival queen, a native of the city, a freshman at Whitman College in Walla Walla.
Portland, Oregon has a sister Rose Festival every year. They've been doing this since 1907. There's been a tradition that they always send a float here to this parade, and we do the same. We reciprocate and send a... They actually have the second largest Rose Parade. Now Sparkles is moving his head there.
What a gorgeous day. It has rained on this parade, by the way, 9 times only through the years. But in 1934, they had 12 inches of rain in the 2 days before the parade.
Can you imagine?
You remember what the theme was that year? Tales of the Seven Seas. I'll bet they didn't do that one again. Some of the crowd and the hawker hawking his way.
Here we have FTD, Florist Trans World Delivery, and they have won the big one, the Sweepstakes Award.
Well, it is a gorgeous float, no questions about that. 3 white horses dashing above the rooftops of Russia, surrounded by icy trees and snowdrifts, and figure skaters. Figure skaters named Todd Eldridge and Christy Yamaguchi. And there is Todd Eldridge, 1990 U.S. Men's Champion. Christy Yamaguchi, silver medalist in the U.S. and World Championships. But right now they're trying to practice their art, if you will, on the float. Not too much room to do it, but they got a little patch of ice. Todd in the blue, Christy in the red. No, she's with him there. They're both in the blue. Christy, not too much room up there to skate.
No, not too much, but it's sure an adventure and we're having fun.
Can't do any triples there, huh?
No, not quite.
Won't be long to the Nationals again. You guys ready?
We're looking forward to it, yes.
Well, it'll be on ABC.
Right, I know.
That'll be on Wild World in February.
Yeah, that's right. Have a good ride.
Thank you.
So, we've had, what, 3 prize winners already, and the parade has hardly begun. Much more to come.
ABC Sports presentation of the Tournament of Roses Parade will continue after these messages.
And there is Los Angeles, 7 miles away. Under a blue sky, we pan to Pasadena. Returning to the parade. The International House of Pancakes restaurants to the accompaniment of California, Here I Come. Seal of Excellence is their theme. They participate, along with the Multiple Sclerosis Foundation Society, in supporting the Readathon program all over the country, involving some 16 million school kids. A great idea.
Yeah, there are 3 children who are riding on the float that are part of the Readathon program. Jack Watts, 8 years old, at Los Altos Hills. Tiffany and Nicole Madigan from Chicago. They're having a lot of fun today.
And here, the Olathe North High School Eagle Marching Band from Olathe, Kansas. Where is Olathe? Right there in the middle of the United States.
It is 1,398 air miles from Pasadena. It has a population of 64,124.
Let's go down to Jackaroot.
And part of the festivities here and the fun and games of proud parents, and one of the French horn players, Jed Davis, his mother Dora, is the treasurer for the Olathe Marching Band and raised all the money to bring the kids out here. How much did it take, Dora?
Over $150,000.
That averages out to about $650 per band player. Now, what did you do to raise that kind of money?
Well, our first fundraiser was our hoagie sale, which we did monthly. We sold over 16,000 hoagies.
And one of the things that they do is when they get out here is they've got I'm a band parent. She has a picture of her son Jed here. And this is the best button I like. It says the Tournament of Roses Parade, and it simply says my kid marched. But you know, Jim, I think about one thing when I see this band. I think of Judy Garland saying, golly, Toto, this sure doesn't look like Kansas.
You know, Calvin Trillin, the writer, is from Kansas City. And he said, I guess the nicest way to describe the geographical location of Kansas City, and it would apply to Olathe, is to say it's equally convenient to both coasts. The kids from Olathe, welcome. They were at the Winter Olympics, by the way, up in Calgary.
You are now looking at the Bank of America float. Fancy dancing is the theme of this float. You have two colorful dancing figures beating large ceremonial drums at each side of the float.
Apparently, the Bank of America has done a lot of business with the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development for a good while now. That's why they picked this particular theme. And that National Center arranged for the Fancy Dancers troupe to accompany the float.
They're walking alongside the float today and dancing on the float.
Fancy dancing is what the Indians called it. Mostly done by the Prairie Indians. However, the dancers today represent various tribes in the United States of Native Americans. It's hard even to think about that, isn't it? That once upon a time, they were the only people here. This was their land.
Looks a lot different today.
They're very good, by the way. The Fancy Dancers. Let's pan back now along Orange Grove.
Down that pink line,
Down
the Rose line.
The Rose line, where we pick up the Pasadena City College Herald Trumpeters.
Nine of Pasadena's finest student trumpeters herald the arrival of the Tournament of Roses Queen, who will be coming along next.
Selected by audition. You've got to prove yourself to make it into this group.
And there she is, the reigning queen of this Tournament of Roses, 17-year-old Cara Payton Ruhlman, and her royal court, 6 princesses, chosen from almost 700 contestants. Becoming a Rose Queen seemed an unlikely dream for this high school senior.
The queen of the 102nd Tournament of Roses is Cara Payton Ruhlman.
It was just by chance that this happened because I wasn't really expecting to try out. I would just try it out so I could go to the Royal Ball. So it just happens. You don't, well, I'm going to be the queen, and that's what I'm shooting for. If it happens to you, it happens, and then you make the best of it.
Kara is a senior at San Marino High School. She's a member of the varsity cheerleading squad and the California Scholastic Federation.
Her ambition, a career working with children with Down syndrome. A good one, good ambition. Well, the Pac-10 Conference float salute to the game. Coming up in not too many hours, the Rose Bowl game. And you'll see it, of course, on ABC.
That's actually a replica of the Rose Bowl Stadium.
And behind the float, just coming into view, the University of Washington Husky Marching Band. 168 members strong. Here they go. ABC Sports presentation of the Tournament Roses Parade will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
You've just won $10 million in the American Family Sweepstakes. Congratulations. More good news like this.
Yes, here we are from overhead. A look at the Elks float, which is a winner of the Directors Award.
In the center of the ring is the theme of this float. 8 matched Belgian draft horses. These are the largest horses in today's parade. They're even larger than Clydesdales. They pull a big circus wagon down South Orange Grove Boulevard.
Director's Award for Outstanding Artistic Merit in Design and Floral Presentation. And there's some of the floral presentation.
Those are the tigers going through the flaming hoops.
It is difficult to realize what goes into this until you have the opportunity, as we had, to go to the warehouse and see these people, hundreds of people, putting these on one pedal at a time. You know.
There are all the clowns today, some of them walking out. Look at the big tiger there in the back. That tiger stands 30 feet tall. And all of these have to be able to be on mechanism so that they can lower to about 17 feet tall so that they can go under the underpasses on their way here from the big factories where they're made.
And now the Shinagawa High School Marching Band from Tokyo, Japan. That's right. It's the first all-girl band ever in the Tournament of Roses Parade. And they've sure come a long way to be here. A very interesting story, Shinagawa. Their symbol is a white rose. And the school's founder had a dream that his band would one day march in the Tournament of Roses Parade. For lack of space, they practiced on the rooftop, sometimes disturbing the hospital next door. But in the end, they made it to Pasadena. There they are under the direction of Shoji Suzuki. They won first place at the Tokyo Marching Band Festival and 4 straight awards at the Silver Parade competition.
Here we have the city of Torrance, California. The theme is Nature's Playground. Animals playing in gardens of roses and daisies. The raccoons are covered with palm fibers and spices and roots and seeds. Every single square inch of these floats have to be covered in some natural material. The birds there are decorated with carnation petals. The little areas of black, they get that with seaweed, pressed seaweed, and onion seeds.
They even sent some little kids 2 to 4 years old from Playhouse Preschool to collect carrotwood tree pods for the floats.
Two little baby raccoons frolicking as Mama washes food at the water's edge. You can see the detail there.
Have a look at the Zembo Mounted Patrol. The Marshal, Samuel Owens. It's their third Rose Parade appearance. Represent the Shriners, the Shrine of North America, and the Zembo Temple of Harrisburg, PA.
They have a great motto, too. The group's motto is, "We ride so that crippled children may walk."
The Shriners have done great work with crippled children for many, many, many years now. Behind them, well, the city of South Pasadena, California. This is called Lunar Rover. A lighthearted approach to the whole thing, and the theme, again, is fun and games this year.
Kind of a child's fantasy coming to life as buckets and umbrellas and brooms become a makeshift lunar rover that jets them to the moon.
South Pasadena's been in the parade for 52 years now. This is the longest standing self-built float in the parade.
Yeah, all the work on the float is done by volunteers from South Pasadena, financed by local donations. Look at that. The children and the animals are made from seaweed and rice, seeds, corn husks, which they also press out, and pampas grass.
Remarkable.
See the little chrysanthemums there. Following just behind the lunar rover is the United States Marine Corps Color Guard. They're from the Marine Corps Logistics Base in Barstow, California. This is their second year in the parade.
Let's go down to Jacket Route for a moment now.
And Jim, one of the members of that Marine Corps Color Guard is Staff Sergeant Roger Rook, and I'm with his wife Terry right now. But Terry, more important than your husband, you have a son, Roger Rook, Private First Class, that's over in Saudi Arabia with Operation Desert Shield.
That's correct.
How difficult is it to be here on New Year's Day, watch your husband enjoy the festivities, march in the parade, and know that your son is over there along with another 500,000 Americans waiting to see what happens?
Well, every service member has a job, and every wife and family is behind that van.
Kind of mixed emotions then.
Definitely, definitely, a lot of them.
But Jim, she's been watching with anticipation as her husband will march by here, and I'm sure as well, hoping that things will turn out right in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, Jack, here is the president of the Tournament of Roses. Now, he has to pick out the theme and hire the Grand Marshal, or select him. Bob Newhart, of course, this year. That's Roy Coates.
They hold that office for 1 year, usually after more than 2 decades of service.
Is his wife Carolyn with him? You really have to pay your dues before you get this job.
Here we have the West Coast Composite Marine Corps Marching Band. Now, musicians from the 1st Marine Division and the 3rd Marine Aircraft are traditionally included. However, this year they have joined their respective units in the Persian Gulf in support of Operation Desert Shield. So about half this band is over in Saudi Arabia. We do have some footage, though, of some of the men and women over in Saudi Arabia. What you're looking at right now is called night scope footage taken last night, celebrating the New Year's as best they could from out in the desert. Right out of the front lines.
That takes you back to reality, doesn't it?
Yes, it certainly does.
And there are their comrades. in the streets of Pasadena. Security Pacific National Bank. Fun Potion number 9, they call this. Friendly witches and all.
Stirring up their potion for a New Year's Day of fun. See the little animals popping up there to keep an eye. That's straw making up the witch's hair.
And so the show goes on. And the Tournament of Roses parade will return after a word from Lifesavers Holes Candy. The parade goes on. And here is the Trans-America Life Company's Float Such a Curious Game. Obviously, Alice in Wonderland, the winner of the Fantasy Trophy for this year. Queen of Hearts and the whole gang.
Lewis Carroll's children's classic coming to life as Alice finds herself playing a game of croquet. Alice is portrayed by 14-year-old Christy Cyro.
Having a good time, Christy?
Christy, can you hear us? It's very, very loud down there on the street. She's from Hacienda Heights, California, though.
Between the band and the crowd. Yep. But that's Alice. 1991.
She's been helping to decorate parade floats for years now. Spent many, many hours decorating the one that she's riding on today.
The Big Ten Conference float. Remember, the game coming up in just a few hours here. The Rose Bowl game. Washington against Iowa. Excuse me. The University of Iowa Hawkeye Marching Band behind that float under the direction of Dr. Morgan Jones. 245 members out here from where the tall corn grows. On Iowa. Way back in 1892, they had, believe it or not, a shortage of roses here, and the event had to be called, if you can believe it, the Orange Tournament. Happy New Year, Miami.
Actually, with the cold weather, they lost a few flowers this year as well. Mainly marigolds. Those are the ones that are very weather sensitive. Had to be replaced by a lot of yellow and orange chrysanthemums.
Overhead, the Goodyear blimp Columbia, the old veteran Columbia from Carson, California, piloted by Charles Russell today, who lives in Downey, California. Oh, come on, guys.
Celebrating the new year.
Still celebrating, eh? Keep your eye on the road, will you?
Here we have the large, lovely, and talented Mademoiselle Tutti Frutti gracing the Baskin-Robbins ice cream float. The theme, hogging the spotlight. There's her slippers. You know what size those are, Jim?
No.
108.
Size 108. Well, but this year, she's going to go on a diet, right? New Year's resolution.
She towers 37 feet high, has an arm spread of 36 feet.
Dancing to Swan Lake.
And to the delight of all the little children down there. This is Baskin-Robbins' 19th consecutive float. Here we have the Valley Hunt Club. They, of course, really started it all, organized the first Tournament of Roses on January the 1st. They have a rich history, and I'm sure they could never have imagined that it would look this way today. Charles Frederick Holder had a dream. He wanted to show the world Pasadena. He and the Valley Hunt Club organized the first Tournament of Roses in 1890. The parade would become the highlight of the festivities. And in the carriage this morning is the 1990 Valley Hunt Club president, John Sturgeon, Mary Ann Sturgeon, and their children. I have an old-fashioned family outing there.
That's right.
From the Kiwanis, California, Nevada, and Hawaii district, Playmates is the theme here.
All decorated by young men and women from the Braille Institute, the Boy and Girl Scouts, and the Circle K High School student from Southern California. Two of those riders, or not actually just one, it was supposed to be two, now it is one. It is an orphan young man named Edward who is eligible for adoption. And they have had a good deal of luck with this program in the past.
Yeah, they do this every year. Just behind, Rand McNally and Company. The theme, Are We There Yet? I've heard that many times. I'm sure you have too from your children.
Exactly. That's Chris Muncy. And there's a story behind Chris Muncy. Here it is. 10-year-old Chris Muncy would like one day to be a geographer.
I want you to put the town where my grandpa, grandma, great-grandma, and uncle live in. It's called Parrot, Virginia.
Thanks to Chris, Rand McNally put Parrot on the map.
I guess they're proud of me since I put the town on the map.
Well, Parrot proclaimed Chris Muncy Day, and they threw a parade in his honor. Chris Muncy, the young man who literally put Parrot, Virginia on the map. Let's go down to Jackaroo.
And Jim, I'm with the great-great-grandson of the founder of Rand McNally, Andrew McNally. This is Ted McNally. Ted, the question is, how many requests do you get like the one that Chris Muncy wrote to you?
Well, we get hundreds of requests every year, Jack, for the road atlas and our various city maps, but none have been as much fun as the Chris Muncy story in Parrot, Virginia.
How small of a city or a town will you put on your maps?
Well, they're usually range in the hundreds or the smallest, and Parrot is about 700, but they need a post office, and we also need room on the map to put the type.
Well, I think we can all agree, though, that for the Muncy family and his grandparents in particular, they're very happy that their dot is on the map now.
Well done, Chris. We'll be back.
ABC Sports presentation of the Tournament of Roses.
This is called Schools Out, sponsored by the Lazy Boy Chair Company. It's terrific. Happy days are here. Kids having a great time, including jumping into a little pond, which, by the way, is heated.
Yes, it is a heated pond. There's more water used on this float than ever before. That's a water slide, a flume. And there they slide down the slide into the pool, which is about 3 feet deep. There is sponge, kind of a spongy foam at the bottom so that they won't hit hard ground. Now we put a camera person up there on top in order to capture those sliding down. There's also, I think, a guy swinging on the rope.
Yeah, we saw him.
Swing and drop into.
There he goes.
There he goes. Whoa.
The rope men are actually stuntmen. Just to make sure they make it.
This setting here, taken, of course, in the 1950s musical Lil Abner. That looks like fun, Jim.
Yeah, particularly into a heated pool. Although it's supposed to be in the 70s today, it isn't so far.
This is Lazy Boy's second entry in the parade. And this is, whoop, one of the tournament specials here. The crowd really likes this one.
The next float we'll see will be from Switzerland.
700 years, Switzerland. An Alpine festival. And there you have two cows pulling a cart filled with wine and cheese. Some little St. Bernard puppies. Cows all animated.
With the bells around their neck. They have a festival over there called Alpalzug.
That's a 27-foot bell tower.
Alpalzug they have in the springtime when the herdsmen take their cows and goats up to the Alps for summer grazing, and they have the festival again in the fall when they come back down again. Jack, you got something for us down there?
Yes, Jim. You know, most of these floats are underwritten by corporate funding, and they can run as high as $300,000, maybe $400,000. But that particular float was independently funded by just a group of individuals and cost $150,000. Now, they used all sorts of methods to raise money to build the float, but the one that was most unique was they sold the seats on the float. Now, if you and Joan want to ride in a float next year, it'll only cost you $5,000 apiece.
By next year, it'll probably be 10. Inflation continues. The Lutheran Layman's League float called Make a Joyful Noise Unto God. Psalm 66.
Now, we saw these stained glass windows, though, being made, and it's really unbelievable. They have to take each petal and cut them with scissors so that there's just like flakes. And then they pour the flakes onto the glue, and it gives that effect of a stained glass window. Two church mice ring the bell at the steeple of the county chapel.
The rural town scene.
She looks like she's enjoying the parade. Here we have the Wyoming High School All-State Centennial Marching Band.
Chilly there? It'll warm up later. Directed by Dave Bellis. The drum major, it's Elizabeth Anthony of Worland, Wyoming, and Laurie Monk of Cheyenne. We've been to Cheyenne many times for Frontier Days Rodeo. Daddy of them all.
This band was formed for the state's 100th birthday in 1990. It's made up of 175 musicians, selected from 47 different Wyoming communities, and each student was responsible for raising his or her own money to attend this parade.
This group, by the way, has appeared at the Frontier Days Rodeo.
From Rotary International, a ropin' and a rompin'. The cowboy puts his strength against the power of a raging bull.
Okay, ABC Sports presentation of the Tournament of Roses Parade will continue after this message and after a word from our ABC stations. The air, the Goodyear blimp, we look down at the intersection of Orange Grove and Colorado. That's where they make the big turn, right under our booth. This float is, well, a touch of Easter on New Year's Day. It represents the traditional Easter egg hunt they've always had at the Huntington Hotel here in Pasadena for a long time, since 1914 when the hotel first opened. It isn't open now, but it will soon reopen as the Ritz-Carlton Huntington.
And I think that's probably Melissa Kong there. She's 10 years old, sister of the Rose Princess, May Lynn Kong.
We have the chicks in the basket. Jelly beans in there somewhere, no doubt. Made out of flowers, of course. Everything has to be.
All these children on the float have either experienced the hunt themselves or their parents or grandparents or participated in past hunts. A lot of fun for them to be out there part of this big parade today.
Yep. Eastman Kodak, appropriately enough. Cat with a camera. It's called Smile, Say Cheese.
Kodak also sponsors a photography contest among Rose Queens. This is a nice time for Rose Queens to get together. There are many from past parades.
Last week was an opportunity for the old to meet the new. Queens from then and now came together at their annual luncheon. The highlight occurred when Holly Baltas, the oldest living queen, was finally crowned. Because queens were not crowned till 1933, she had to wait 60 years to receive that honor.
Well, Holly, how much has being a Tournament of Roses queen meant to you through the years?
It's meant a great deal to me through my lifetime. I've been a Rose Queen for 61 years, and I'm very loyal to the Tournament of Roses and the Kodak who gave me this beautiful crown.
And she's carried it around with her ever since she showed up for the parade today. But being a queen is something that you do carry through your lifetime, and you can share with people your experiences.
The relationships have been wonderful, and your loyalty, and people seem to recognize you, and it all is in good cheer and good fun.
Jim, Joan, I think she's still the best and prettiest queen I've seen in the Tournament of Roses.
She really represents the spirit of the day, doesn't she? That's great. Here we have the Shorecrest High School Highlander Marching Band.
76 trombone. They represented the state of Washington in President Bush's inaugural parade. Maybe you saw them.
There are 198 members of this band. 12 of them are playing bagpipes. In fact, that school actually has credited courses in how to play bagpipes.
You really need a course in how to listen to bagpipes. That's what's required.
We're having fun and games in old L.A., and that is the theme of the Downey Rose Float Association.
Dinah Sarr playing with her young'uns at the old La Brea Tar Pits.
Little kids, you can see there taking turns sliding down Mom's tail.
This, of course, is in old L.A.
Those are a whole lot of yellow chrysanthemums you're seeing, and carnations and some marigolds, which of course was the one flower that was really affected by some of the cold temperatures they've had out here.
Yeah. Well, they call this the old swimming hole at Wilshire and La Brea. La Brea Tar Pits.
Miss Downey's on that float there.
Yep. Downey, California. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Service, called Home for the Holidays. In the 1830s winter scene, animated skaters, forest animals, carolers.
Yes, this won the National Award for Best Depiction of Life in the United States.
It is a terrific float, isn't it?
The detail on this float probably surprised me more than any other float. You know, everything is so sculptured now, and the very tiniest detail is attended to.
Touch of the old days.
ABC's sports presentation of the Tournament of Roses Parade will continue after these messages.
Next time you're expecting a...
The Raja Festival. A traditional festival with Sulawesians offering thanks for everything good in their lives.
And Jim, this won the Isabella Coleman Award. That's for the best use of color and color harmony through the use of flowers.
Celebration of love and joy.
See that the houses on that float are typical of houses in Sulawesi, Indonesia, where there's a lot of water. They have to protect themselves from flooding. I'm told they also have to protect themselves from tigers, which is why they
a long way from home. That's clever. Look at the chaps carrying the basket up there.
We're going to see if he can get around the corner right now.
Not too easy for that one.
Indonesia is the world's 6th largest nation by area. It's actually comprised of 13,677 islands.
And the band behind them comes
they
from...
might have a problem. They're getting around the corner.
Yeah, they may not make it for a moment.
They certainly are.
The best laid plans of mice and men. Oft have gone aglaé.
There are 175 million people in Indonesia. They speak 300 different languages, just to complicate things. There are 54 walkers surrounding that float, and I think they're all busy right now. 2 from each of Indonesia's 27 provinces.
Do they drive on the other side of the street in Indonesia, do you know?
Well,
maybe that's the problem.
I think so. All of the men in white, those are all tournament folks out there in their white suits.
Well, there's always some little glitch in the best of parades. We had one break down a couple of years ago.
Yeah, this is the main corner of this whole route, 5.5 miles.
That's it. Back it up, turn it around. It's just like getting out of your driveway in the ice.
And the crowd is cheering.
A cheer rises from the million people gathered along the route. Off they go. Okay, now from the parade route, we're panning across to a place where you'll be later this afternoon. That famous place called the Rose Bowl. Washington and Iowa will be doing battle. That, of course, will come after the Citrus Bowl between Georgia Tech and Nebraska. Rose Bowl, Iowa and Washington, 4:45 Eastern today on ABC. There it is. Empty now, but be quite a scene later. Back on the Rose line is the float.
Back en route there.
And here the band from Semperna, Indonesia. They've come all the way for the Rose Parade. Almost 10,000 miles.
Semperna is in the town of Surabaya, Indonesia. A little over 9,000 miles from here.
Most of the band members have received fewer than 2 years of formal musical instruction. They had American band directors go over and work with them for this year's parade. They've learned it very well. Here is the Farmers Insurance Group. Fun under the big top, it's called.
A salute to the circus. Acrobats perform with a 30-foot tall elephant. I'll bet they're glad that the temperature's warmed up today.
Hey, the ladies are up there with no net, and that is 30 feet. 30 feet is still 30 feet. It's a 3-story building.
It's nothing but South Orange Grove Boulevard below them.
Absolutely.
Look at those elephants' tusks. They elevate. They actually go up and down from 10 feet up to 30 feet as the elephant moves down the parade route.
Takes a little talent and a lot of courage to get up there. Jackaroot on the parade route.
Jim, it's only fitting that with a theme like fun and games, we should find some of the youngsters in the crowd. And believe it or not, this is one entire family, the Gangalosi family from Chicago, Illinois, and it's their first ever Tournament of Roses parade. And what do you think of it so far?
It's good.
Just good? I mean, what do you like the best about it?
The floats.
When you were looking at the floats, what excited you the most?
I think that all the things that were, it was just fun.
Did you ever see this? Did you ever think it would be this much fun after watching it on television?
No.
Well, they've been really enjoying themselves down here on the street side of Colorado, and their family's very proud back in Chicago, where, as I understand, it's very, very cold.
What were the odds that they'd make it onto national TV out of 1 million people who came here? Unical's float is called Kabuki. Scares the heck out of you.
Presenting the unique art of Kabuki with costume figures, twirling elaborately decorated fans. You'll see the hands, they actually rotate.
Yep. Holding the big fans, all made of flowers. The Kabuki float.
ABC Sports Presentation.
Here is the Purple People Eater, sponsored by Carnation.
Certainly one of the favorites of the audience. Well, look at this.
Well, look at this.
The Purple People Eater picks up a person out of the bus, And
Now
it
watch.
drops him into his mouth. Watch this. Whoa.
See you around.
The purple people eater weighs 36,000 pounds and lifts those guys 40 feet into the air.
Yeah.
Now, shall we tell them they actually can go down through that arm there you're seeing on the left side of the screen, through the arm back into the bus so they can get picked up again. That's how they recycle their
It's a clever one.
people.
The Vero Beach High School Marching Band is behind them as the people continue to be eaten.
This is their first appearance in the Rose Parade. They've performed all over. Cotton Bowl Parade, Macy's Parade, World's Fair in Knoxville.
They're from Florida, but there is a connection with Los Angeles. The Dodgers train Vero Beach.
$165 members from the 10th through 12th grade.
From ITT Sheraton, slam dunk.
A basketball player makes a 180-degree turn, rises 4 feet into the air, and swings his arm to slam dunk the ball into the hoop.
Simple and to the point. And there is AC Green of the Lakers.
Joined by a few lucky youngsters from his summer basketball camp.
Being recognized by just about everybody in the stands, I think. AC Green. He turns around and dunks it occasionally, maybe not right now. City of Sierra Madre, California is coming up, and we have an exception to the rules. All of the boats must be self-propelled. Not this one. It broke down, but it's in the parade.
Yes, Wally's Harbor Cruise has to be towed down this street. Wally Walrus pilots, supposedly he pilots a broken down tugboat as a hapless raccoon hangs on for dear life.
Well, they had to make it in the parade anyway because Sierra Madre has been in this parade for 70 years.
And unlike most of the floats which are constructed by the big professional builders, all the fundraising and the construction and the decoration for this float is done by volunteers.
There's the tugboat whistle. And the smoke. And here they are, the Clydesdales from St. Louis, from Budweiser.
Look at those beautiful horses.
Sponsored by the city of St. Louis on this occasion. This is the 38th anniversary of the Budweiser Clydesdales in the Rose Parade. And the producers of this float today were Kathleen O'Kane and Karen Reynolds, granddaughters of the late August Bush.
Red wagon there filled with all kinds of toys. A rocking horse that actually rocks. There you can see. Toy plane with a spinning propeller. Humpty Dumpty teetering on the wall.
New Year's greetings from St. Louis.
Just behind the float there, you see the Ben Davis High School Marching Giants Band from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Well, there was a lady named Miller, later named Miller when she got married, who once lugged a 15-pound glockenspiel for 5.5 miles in this parade. She's here today, and her daughter is one of the drum majors, Lynn Miller. Let's go down to Jack.
And, Jim, we've resurrected that glockenspiel and reunited it with Terry Miller. And I can't believe that you carried that the entire 5.5 miles 28 years ago in this parade.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Has the parade changed a lot now that you're watching it?
Not really. It's just as exciting now as it was then.
But what about when you march in the parade? The butterflies have got to be just absolutely feel like bullets sometimes.
Yes, but the crowd is so enthusiastic that you just keep marching.
What's your fondest memory of when you were in the Rose Bowl parade?
The fact that we were in the back. We were the last ones. We heard all the good comments as we went by.
Jim, Joan?
Okay.
Carrying on traditions here in Pasadena.
Good formula for success in any parade. Just keep marching. 3 decades ago, huh? Memories being piled up from the little head there. Delta Airlines presents Bringing People Together. Rotating globe, Delta jet circling overhead.
The dancers performing there in the front.
Be on one of those myself shortly.
This is Delta's first Rose Parade entry. And it features the largest floral replica of the planet Earth ever seen in the Rose Parade. That globe rises to 28 feet.
And would you believe there's still much more to come?
ABC Sports Presentation.
And the look from overhead as the Century 21 real estate float will be coming into view. Their second Rose Parade entry, a replica of a Victorian oval rose bowl, of course, filled with flowers. That is gorgeous.
Yes, this won the Queen's Award for the most effective use and display of roses in concept, design, and presentation.
A little more on this story from Jackaroo.
Jim, the designer of that float was Michelle Lofthouse, and she's with us, and believe it or not, she has also brought along the inspiration for that float. This is the Rose Bowl that gave her the inspiration. Now, tell us the story. We understand you found this in an estate sale.
That's correct. My father brought this home one day and said, "Hey, look what I got." I said, "Hey, looks like a float to me." So here it is coming down the street, and we had a ball designing it, and this made it very convenient to refer to when we were constructing it.
Now, the bowl itself was part of the property of a 94-year-old woman who lived in Pasadena all her life, but the great part of the story is before she passed on, she was a Ziegfeld girl. That's some fun and games.
Okay, Jack.
It's interesting to see where some of these things started.
It is, yeah. Well, they were well-deserved winners of the Queen's Trophy. That was a beautiful float.
From
City
the
of Alhambra.
City of Alhambra, California. The sweet smell of success. A little purple and pink skunk here. Took a little artistic liberty.
Yes.
This actually won the mayor's trophy for the most outstanding entry from a city.
Alhambra, California.
It's a lot of chrysanthemums making up that skunk.
Behind them, the Clovis High School Wildcat Marching Band from Clovis, New Mexico. They sure hear from everywhere. All over the country, all over the world. $185 members in the band, New Mexico's honor band in 1988 and 1989. Let's listen to them.
Behind the band, that's China Airlines. The theme, Legend of the Monkey God, won the Judges Special. And that's winning for the most spectacular showmanship and dramatic impact.
depicts a particular scene in the Pilgrim's Journey West in which the monkey god battles a three-eyed warrior.
That monkey god towers 30 feet in the air. Followed by one of the more whimsical.
Yeah, there's a
logos.
contrast.
The city of Carson, California. They won the Governor's Trophy, best depicting life in California.
Betty Boop in her convertible. And it was your husband, Michael, who reminded who was the voice of Betty Boop. Mae Questel.
And ABC Sports presentation of the Tournament of Roses Parade will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
All right, John.
This is the city of Long Beach, California. The theme, follow the leader. 5 lively dolphins enjoy a friendly game of follow the leader here. Playing above the gardens of sea anemones. Those dolphins are made from chrysanthemum petals, and linaria, and silver leaf. They also use a lot of seaweed and onion seeds to get the black color. The water is made of statice and iris, and now you can see all along the bottom they've used exotics. The very first flowers that they put on these floats are the chrysanthemums because they're the hardiest, they last the longest. Then come carnations, and then the very last ones are these exotics, which are put on in little tiny vials so that they can stay for several days.
Behind them, a big float, very impressive. Coming up, the Wells Fargo Bank entry, an Old West celebration. The people in an old western town celebrating the stagecoach's arrival. The fiddlers and the dancers performing atop the town's buildings, including Randy Katai. How you doing, Randy?
Just fine, Jim. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. That thing looks like it's tilting just a little bit to the right, is it?
Pardon me?
Looks like it's tilting a little bit.
It's really moving.
Just a little bit.
Sound a little out of breath.
Yeah, the crowd's just been just revving us all up on here, all the way up the line.
Yeah, they've really reacted well to your float.
You bet. We'd like Wells Fargo Bank would like to wish everybody out there a very, very happy New Year.
Okay, Randy, doing your job very well. Randy Katai atop the tower for Wells Fargo. The dancers are down below there. There's the banjo man. And there they are, dancing the New Year's Day away. Okay.
This is Wells Fargo's first year in this Rose Parade.
They did a good job.
There you see some folks from Caltech. There to cheer their float on. Just behind the Wells Fargo Bank float, we have another marching band coming. These are the Patriots of North Virginia Colonial Regiment, representing Arlington, Virginia.
One of the young ladies with that banner is Rebecca Hart, 13 years old and blind. She knows where they're going just by feeling the tension of the banner. They've been in the last 3 inaugural parades. And at the Indianapolis 500, where ABC also is yearly represented.
They're celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. It's a volunteer group of young people from 7 counties of Northern Virginia. And here we have the city of Pasadena, Texas, a sister city. Pasadena, Texas is 1,460 miles from Pasadena, California. The theme here today is all aboard the recycling train. The train chugs along a track bearing a variety of recyclable materials.
The winners of the Bears Trophy.
Pasadena, Texas, is the 12th largest city in Texas.
I didn't know that. Now I do.
And we'll be back with more of the Tournament of Roses Parade after this.
To go up into the 70s before the day is done. Goodyear blimp Columbia, faithful Columbia, high overhead. Lo, these many years, Columbia's been coming to events with us. They're the guys still celebrating.
Hi, guys.
Okay. Occasionally, watch where you're going.
They've got a good seat viewing this parade today.
Yep.
And so do we. That's our blue booth you see right on the left. So approaching us is the Bakery, Confectionery, and Tobacco Workers Union float. The theme, King of the Hill.
It's a banana split and a couple of gingerbread men.
Now those gingerbread men, they are decorated with cinnamon. All kinds of spices are used to obtain the different colors that they need. We've got the Kentucky Derby Festival Queen, Heather.
Yeah, right there. No, she's over here in the white.
And the Garlic Festival Queen from Gilroy, California, Kimberly Yafai. And also Diane Cook is on board. Over on the other side, Minneapolis, Aquatennial Queen.
Lots of hints of things to come on ABC. The Kentucky Derby is another one.
This is the Upland High School Highland Regiment Band.
Their theme, Scotland the Brave, sometimes called Tunes of Glory. It's what the Scottish regiments used to play going into battle behind the pipers.
This is the American Honda Motor Company Incorporated with I Love a Parade. They won the Animation Award for Best Animation and Motion. Quite a big monster here, but that's nothing new to this parade. We've seen a lot of monsters in this parade over the years.
He did the monster mash. The monster mash.
Today's appearance of Godzilla brings back memories of monsters from Rose Parade's past. The Loch Ness Monster, King Kong, and Frankenstein are other monsters who have stalked the streets of Colorado and Orange Grove Boulevards.
And there he is, Godzilla. He's got a noisemaker in one hand, and take a look, he's got a street sign in the, you know, they've been looking for that street sign for the corner of Orange Grove and Colorado Boulevard for years. There it is.
I think he's got it.
40 feet high.
That is well animated, isn't it?
Yes, the head and the mouth and the legs, the arm, the tail, they're all animated. It makes it look like he's actually walking down the parade route. He's got hot air blowing out of his mouth.
Now, moving back to the city of Mobile, Alabama, their theme is Go Fish. Remember the children's card game? We've all played that.
This is a variation on the theme, though. It's the fish doing the fishing in this entry from Mobile, Alabama. Crabs, shrimps, oysters, starfish, and turtles playing cards as they wait for their little bite on the line there.
It's cute.
I learned something interesting during this parade. I learned that the tradition of Mardi Gras started in Mobile.
That's interesting.
Yeah, not New Orleans.
Well, great place to go fishing. Lots of seafood available there, and that's the connection with Go Fish. City of Mobile. Now we're going to move back to Cal Poly Universities. That's Cal Poly in Pomona and San Luis Obispo. They make their float together every year. The kids from the colleges do. One makes the front, one makes the back, and they join them together in Pasadena.
They won the humor trophy for the most amusing trophy. We said one of these years they're going to come and say, oh no, I thought you were making the tail.
That's exactly right.
The two fronts. Look at the animation on this float and the use of the different materials. Now Jack Arute is down on the parade route with more on that story.
Joe, and this is one of the floats that almost didn't make it to the parade because Cal Poly raises about 80% of the flowers they put on the float on their college campuses. But that killer frost that struck here in Southern California a couple of weeks ago totally wiped out their crop. Now, Corey Seidel is one of the co-chairpersons on the float committee. And, Corey, you really had to scramble to find flowers to complete your float.
Sure did. We lost about 75% of our field, and we had good people out there hunting around and got a lot of great community support and also from other float builders, and we definitely have to thank them for everything they did, and the float turned out great.
Now, these kids have been up for like 48 to 72 hours without a stop. You had to make some adjustments in terms of the colors, but when do you think you're going to finally get to bed?
As soon as I take all the drivers out to breakfast, I'm hitting the sack.
It's almost like an all-nighter if you're studying for exams or something.
And here comes the band from Normal High School, the Marching Ironmen from Normal, Illinois.
And if you're wondering where Normal, Illinois is, yes, it is 3 miles north of Bloomington. It's 1,679 miles from Pasadena. It has a population of 39,313, although 280 of those are here today, marching in the band.
Most of them are in the band. They sold over 6 semi-truckloads full of oranges, auctioned off 2 dream vacations, also got community support in order to raise the cost of the trip. Cost them over $250,000 to come here.
Another award winner coming up behind this band. The Seventh-day Adventist Church. The theme Playing in Peace, they won the Lathrop Leishman, which is the award given for the most beautiful float entered by a non-commercial sponsor.
We'll be back.
And Joe London.
And the Arco float, called a Wild Ride. River rafters riding down the rapids. And one of the people on there is none other than Mary Lou Retton, who, by the way, is now Mary Lou Kelly. She got married last Saturday.
Saturday, yes. Congratulations. They postponed their honeymoon so that they could be here today.
This isn't a bad place to take a honeymoon. There's Mary Lou.
There's Mary Lou right there.
Heroine of the 1984 Olympics right here in L.A. Well, 7 miles away in L.A. We're in Pasadena. Willie Banks is on that float, too. There he is.
There's Willie.
The triple jumper, great American athlete. The other people are professional stuntmen. Well, you could say Mary Lou's kind of a professional stunt person herself. The great gymnast.
They used a lot of new technology on this float, too, to kind of give that white river rafting that kind of effect. Circulating rotary motors.
City of Duarte, California, City of Hope National Medical Center. It's called Laughter is the Best Medicine. I'll go along with that.
There are 4 children that are on this float that are all patients here at the City of Hope National Medical Center.
Outpatients.
That big dinosaur made out of chrysanthemums and carnation petals.
With a bandage on his tail, appropriately for a hospital. Now the Mount Miguel High School Marching Matador Band from Spring Valley, California. Roy Anthony Jr. directing.
This is their 11th appearance in the Tournament of Roses Parade. They've traveled all over the United States performing.
Kmart Corporation float, our secret hideaway designed by a Kmart employee.
And this won the theme trophy for excellence in presenting the parade's theme, which of course this year will remind you is fun and games.
Speaking of the Kmart employee, let's go down to Jack.
Jim, that grand prize winner, the designer of the year for Kmart is Sue Harden. And Sue, how did you come up with the design?
Oh, I don't know. I was just sitting around brainstorming, and it just popped in. It was such a good theme. It was easy to work with.
Did you ever in your wildest dreams expect to win the contest?
Oh, no. I never expected that. Boy, it's wonderful.
Then she found out she won the contest. They were going to design her float, and lo and behold, her favorite team made it to the Rose Bowl as well. You're from Waterloo, Iowa, and you're pulling for the Iowa Hawkeyes today.
Never believe it. Hawkeyes!
She told me before we went on the air that if she didn't pull for the Hawkeyes, they wouldn't let her back in the state.
A lot of children having a lot of fun on that float today.
Sue Harden did have a good idea, this secret hideaway, huh?
Must really be something to see it actually built there.
That's right.
From your idea.
Kids of all ages invited to enjoy the backyard paradise, it says.
You see a close-up like that right there, you can see the individual petals that we saw people glue on one by one.
Secret hideaway. And here the La Cañada, California, La Cañada Flint Ridge Tournament of Roses Association float called Barely Balanced, B-E-A-R-L-Y.
That's right, because a rabbit, a skunk, and a frog try to keep the teeter-totter from toppling, but I don't know, the weight of the bear on the other side seems to be getting them. This is the winner of the Founders Trophy for the most beautiful float, built and decorated by volunteers from the sponsoring community or organization.
A great big seesaw. At least that's what we called it when I was a kid. We didn't call it a teeter-totter.
You can see here, too, of all the different moving parts, besides just the teeter-totter, the little rabbits move, the butterflies that move. This is their 13th year in this parade.
The sun really shining brightly now. It's warming up quickly in the streets of Pasadena. Just after 10 o'clock in the morning here on New Year's Day. Now from SeaWorld, of course.
Interesting, because this float, which is called Skiing, is actually longer than the allowed length. The allowed length is 55 feet long. They chose to make theirs longer and take themselves out of the judging just so that they could delight the crowds. That's a killer whale there, providing the power for a pretty wild water ride. Got yourself an octopus, a walrus, and penguins. There's the octopus right in the middle there.
Great color, isn't it?
Oh.
ABC Sports presentation of the Tournament of Roses Parade will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
And you are looking at the float from the city of Glendale, California. This is a balancing act. A coordinated duo there of performing elephants featured in Glendale's Rose Parade entry.
Okay, the parade goes on, and just in case you just got up, we're in Pasadena, California, where it's just after 10 o'clock in the morning at the Tournament of Roses Parade.
And an absolutely spectacular day here, made to order. And there are about 1 million people out there along the parade route watching the parade live today. About 300 million, I think, out watching from 35 different countries.
That's absolutely right. You and we have a long day ahead of us. 3 bowl games coming up on ABC, a big bowl festival, you might say. Right now, let's check in Orlando, Florida, with Brent Musburger and Dick Vermeil at the Citrus Bowl.
Jim, thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you and the crew out in Pasadena. From all of us in Central Florida, Dick Vermeil, a glorious day for this Citrus Bowl. Georgia Tech trying to win a national championship and matched against Nebraska.
Well, their schedule has been criticized, Brent, but they have beaten 4 bowls.
The Aloha, actually, high school warrior band. It's interesting. The name Aloha is taken from the local Indian tribe called Aloha, A-L-O-A-H. However, when the small community sent the name to be incorporated in Washington, D.C., the clerk just assumed that it had to be misspelled, so they took the liberty of changing it to Aloha.
Naturally, they changed it. They're from Portland, Oregon. Now coming down the street from the Tourist Development Corporation of Malaysia and Malaysia Airlines. The float depicting fun and games Malaysia style. They won the international trophy, most beautiful entry from outside the continental USA. An interesting story behind this one. There are kites and there are kites. There are the kites you fly on the beach, and then there are the kites that are a competitive, long-standing sport in Malaysia. There are top spinners like you and I on a Christmas day in our youth. And then there are the top spinners of Malaysia who can make them spin not for seconds, but for hours. But they say they can make them spin for hours. But the kites are the big theme of this float, actually. They were last year's tournament special trophy winner.
And only the men flew the kites, so that when the lady said, go fly a kite, it was okay.
And they'd better go do it. Looks like they lost their power, too. They have it being pulled by a truck, which is against the rules, technically. But they came a long way from Malaysia. So they have to make it around the route.
And they have to have specially built engines so that they can withstand the slow pace that they have to go in the parade without overheating. Look at those kites raising up and down.
Let's have a look at the Burbank Tournament of Roses Association. It's called The Great Race.
There you have a crab, a frog, a rabbit, and an elephant. They're about to discover that they're headed in the wrong direction as they desperately try to win a fun-filled rafting competition. Jack Arute is down on the street. Jack?
And Joan, I'm with the designer of that float. He's 24 years old. His name is Eric Anderson, but you started back when you were 14, just gluing pedals onto floats.
Actually, gluing pedals and sweeping the floor for around the float. You know, I had to graduate up the ranks.
What is the romance that you have with the Rose Parade, that you would start as a volunteer and now become a float designer?
I don't know. I guess it's what everybody has. It's the awe and beauty of the floats. And to be able to have your design picked and presented in front of all these people is just a great, exciting, you know, it's just wonderful.
It's the second year in a row that he's been involved in float design.
And that's just great. The animation on that float, that little frog's leg is terrific. Look at it go.
That's great. Okay, well, nearing the end of the parade, but there's still more to come.
ABC Sports presentation of the
Prince presents Arcadia's queen and her court in this entry from the Arcadia Tournament of Roses Association. Look at this guy. This is Arcadia's 26th Rose Parade entry, which was decorated by volunteers from Arcadia High School. That's the Arcadia Queen, Danielle Kennedy, 17 years old.
And behind them, the Oddfellows and Rebeccas. This is called Scared Silly. Obviously, they're in bed, and there's a monster under the bed.
And this won the Princess's Trophy for most beautiful float, 35 feet or less in length, some of the smaller ones.
Very near the end of the Tournament of Roses parade, but a little bit yet to go, so let's take a break and return after these messages. Wet here, right?
Yes.
California Ride-Sharing Coalition. Okay, Joan.
This is Discover the Magic of Ride Sharing. You've got your snake charmer there sharing his magic carpet with a host of exotic passengers, dragons, a couple gnomes, a leprechaun or two, some magicians, and a fortune teller.
What better way to share a ride than on a magic carpet? They're really working on ride sharing, pollution, all that stuff out here, and making some headway.
And as an example of their commitment to a cleaner and more healthy environment, this float is powered by compressed natural gas. It's an environmentally sound float. Although that dragon's spewing a little out of his nose there.
They were saying on the news last night that the pollution is less than it's been in, I don't know, something like 18 years.
Yeah, it's
right
been
now.
very clear out here. Well, this organization wants to promote air quality and also conservation of gas and also just the easing of traffic. And
just minutes now from going to the Citrus Bowl and starting our 3-game coverage.
We've got a little traffic problem, as you can see from the shot from the blimp right here on South Orange Grove Boulevard. A few of the floats have lost their power, and they're having to be pulled by trucks.
We were just looking down on a helicopter. How often have you done that? Now we got a problem here with the city of Los Angeles. They're being towed, and they got unhitched.
They got to hitch them back up now.
Well, Snoopy always has problems, but he'll overcome.
They're having a problem finding LAX, I guess, because this is called Snoopy Circles LAX.
Yeah, there's no holding pattern.
Yeah, Snoopy's on his doghouse. He thinks, he imagines that's the Sopwith camel,
Sure.
but he's chasing the old Red Baron around.
Yep. Well, he's circling over L.A., and that's the point. I get that's why they came unhitched.
Little Woodstock's there with them. Well, the LAX is the busiest airport of the West. It serves 45 million passengers, handles over 1 million tons of air cargo annually.
The first time I ever came out here was in the late 1950s, and the L.A. airport was one small adobe-type terminal building, and it's still there. Every so often I notice it. It's just a dot on the huge expanse of LAX today.
Well, just even Pasadena, which is one, small part of the Los Angeles area. In 1890, when this first Rose Parade was held, Pasadena had a population of 4,882 people. Today, it's a very tightly packed 135,000.
But still a very residential, beautiful old town.
Beautiful area.
Yeah.
We've kind of invaded it today.
Well, we'll be back for another look at the city of Los Angeles, because that is the final float in the Tournament of Roses Parade.
And the tournament committee has tow trucks up and down the route, and each float has approximately 30 seconds to refire their engine, and if they don't, well, then they're towed the remainder of the way. But they've planned for it throughout the 5.5-mile journey.
Okay, nice job all morning here, Jack, and here is the Los Angeles Unified All-America High School Honor Band with This Is My Country, an appropriate way to wind up the morning here, Joan.
Yes, representing Los Angeles, California. What a day it has been. We have had a spectacular morning. You know, Jack talked about how well planned it is. It's amazing the amount of work that is put in by so many people, so many volunteers that have been working for months, and particularly days and nights over the last week to try to get these things put together.
Right. Well, it's been a great honor for ABC to bring you the Tournament of Roses Parade again.
You have lots of games coming up all day.
With you, Joan. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. And to you, too.
That is the story, then, from the streets of Pasadena. The big parade is over. The football is now to come.